Hello viewers, welcome to Elimu TV, a station where you watch and learn. This is our history class, and the first lesson we'll get to look at trade and the methods of trade. And as always, it is your tutor, Rojab. By the end of the class, or by the end of the lesson, we need to get to define what the term trade is, and also state the limitations of barter trade as a method of trade. So to begin our lesson, can we get to look at what trade is? Trade, this is the buying and selling of goods. Take an example of a marketplace. When you go to the market, for example, you want to go and buy something, right? You'll expect to find someone who will be selling the commodity you'll be wanting in the market. Now, that act of buying and selling of goods, that is what we term as trade. And also, trade can be defined as the exchange of goods and services. This can be between people or countries. When I say it is between people, it is people of different communities or people or countries of different regions. Now, let us get to look at what are these methods of trade. We have got two methods of trade. One, we have got barter trade. Then two, we have got currency trade. But for today's class, we get to look at barter trade. What is barter trade? Barter trade is the exchange of goods for goods. What does it mean that we are exchanging goods for goods? All it means here, for example, I have a goat. I need to exchange a goat for a sack of beans, right? So I've exchanged a good for a good. So the exchange of goods for goods is what is termed as barter trade. Now, when you get to look at when you get to barter trade, we get to see that it is the oldest form of trade. Now, in the pre-colonial period, different communities could produce different commodities. We had farmers, we had pastoralists, right? We had the iron smelters. Now, taking an example of pastoralists and farmers. Farmers could produce agricultural produce. Then pastoralists could produce livestock products. A farmer needs a livestock product, and also a pastoralist would sometimes need agricultural produce. Now, they could exchange those commodities between those two communities. And however, we must get to know that barter trade could take place in an open market, a place where there is an open, for example, an open field, where each and every member or each and every person who had the commodity could display their commodities on an open place. For example, if you get to look at our image there, we can get to see we have got tomatoes, we have got bananas, we have got beans, we have got onions, right? Now, the sellers or the farmers or the people are displaying what they have at the market. Now, that is where the exchange of those commodities could take place. But again, barter trade as a method of trade, it had its limitations. For example, agricultural products would go bad easily. And as we know, agricultural products, they are perishable goods. Now they could go bad very easily. Another limitation is that the products will not be divisible into smaller quantities. For example, if I go to the market, I need a kg of meat. You can't be given a kg of meat. You are given a whole cow, right? So meaning those commodities were not to be divided into smaller quantities. And last but not least, there was lack of common language. Lack of common language. Now people from different communities could speak different languages. Now that was another limitation. And finally, it was not easy to establish the actual value of goods, or rather it was not easy to establish the actual value of the goods. How can you establish the actual value of a cow? Or how can you establish the actual value of a sack of beans? Now, those are some of the limitations that they had. Now, for our assignment, can we get to define what trade is and the two methods of trade that we have already highlighted? Now, for your reference, for your research, can you get to refer to KLB, Secondary History and Government, Book 2, the 5th edition. Thank you and see you in the next class.